Eval is a simple and state-of-the-art agent eval technique. I'll show you how I use Eval to improve an agent's performance in a few minutes. I'll also go through why it works so well and discuss some of the literature showing why it's such a big deal. To demonstrate Evals, I'll build an agent that tries to write the worst poems possible. First, I'll come up with a simple system prompt myself. Now, I'll get the agent to generate a poem. I have a few issues with the poem it generated. I want it to be a real poem with proper structure, and I also want the poem to be something interesting and not derivative. I want to give each poem a score based upon each of these metrics. I want the poem to be really boring, so I'll create a metric for that. I'll create a metric for whether the poem is unique and not derivative, and one more for whether it's a valid poem or not. In GEval, for each metric, you write a short prompt that you'll feed to the agent to get it to evaluate the poem on a score of 1 to 5. Next, I'm going to set up the evaluator agent with a system prompt. Its task is to judge the poem on each metric and give a score from 1 to 5. Finally, I'll create one more agent whose job is to update the poem generator's system prompt based upon the scores given by the evaluator agent. Now, what I'm hoping is that each time the loop runs, the system prompt will get better and the metrics will get better and better. On the first iteration, it scores 2.2. On the second, it scores 3.4. On the third, 3.6. And on the fourth, 3.8. I do feel the final poem it generated was much more boring, much more unique, and was much more of a valid poem. In iteration 1, it didn't come up with a poem, it just came up with a boring form. The final poem, however, is about the life cycle of a paperclip. It's told in an abstract and incredibly boring way, just like really bad poetry. GEval has a really high Pearson correlation with how humans rate things. That means that GEval can accurately simulate humans' ratings of an agent's output. This is because when you give specific instructions for how to rate something, an agent can do that without bias. When you combine a bunch of these ratings together, it becomes really accurate. Forcing the agent to do chain of thought and step-by-step thinking increases the rating accuracy. If you want to get fancy with GEval, you can use DeepEval, which is a 10,000 star Python library that comes with GEval out of the box, as well as a range of other evaluation methods. However, it's really easy to do GEval with simple system prompt calls, and I would put a lot more focus on writing really good metrics that really match all of the things you care about. Initially, I forgot a metric for the length of the poem, and so it kept making longer and longer poems because long poems are more boring.